Hello everybody, and today we are going to be talking about personality disorders. Now, we already went through personality types, traits, and temperaments, but just to reiterate in case if you forgot, personality is the sum total of all the way we think, feel, and act. And a personality disorder is basically like a normal disorder, except they focus in on mostly just the personality and affect mostly a person's personality. Are we clear? Okay, I'm going to say we're clear. Now, personality disorders are divided into three clusters: Cluster A, Cluster B, and Cluster C. Let's get started with Cluster A, shall we? Now, it's important for you to know that the entire cluster of Cluster A is labeled as odd and eccentric behavior. The personality disorders in this cluster are paranoid personality disorder, or paranoid PD, schizoid personality disorder, or schizoid PD, and schizotypal personality disorder, or schizotypal PD. People that have paranoid PD are defined as having a level of suspicious of about people. Basically, they believe that people are out to get them. Either they wish to get them fired, or they wish to do them harm, or other methods of causing them harm or upsetting them, such as unaliving them. And they have these beliefs despite the persons or people that they are suspicious of showing absolutely no signs of wanting them ill intent or any harm at all, even if they're complete strangers that they have just ran into. This may cause them to isolate themselves from others or completely avoid others, as they will worry and concern that others will try and do something to them. People suffering with schizoid personality disorder. This is a disorder which causes people to withdraw from social settings and basically be by themselves and avoid other people. But it is important to know not to mix this up with another disorder that is in another cluster, which we will be discussing later on. The difference between the personality disorder we're going to talk about later and schizoid personality disorder is that schizoid personality disorder is developed because you have another personality disorder or another disorder. For example, if you have a paranoid personality disorder, you're likely to withdraw from social settings and avoid people altogether because you'll feel as though people are out to get you. Lastly, for Cluster A, we have schizotypal PD. This has earned the nickname magical thinking, as this is where you believe you're hearing voices or you're hearing something telling you to do something. You know, the usual belief about what mental health used to be like back in the olden times. With this type of personality disorder, people may also believe that objects such as inanimate objects like spoons and so on are talking to them and telling them to do things. Now, as for what they could be being told, this could be either from being insulted or saying people are telling them stuff or saying stuff about them behind their back, etc., like even a god or so will tell them to do something for them. And as you can probably guess, sometimes if people do not recognize that this may be a mental health disorder, they might end up committing heinous deeds, such as unaliving other people that they believe are bad, or people that they believe have done them wrong, though they have not done anything wrong to them. Now that we've completed Cluster A, let's move on to Cluster B, shall we? It is important to note that the entire cluster of Cluster B is labeled as overly dramatic and emotional. The personality disorders in this cluster are borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, and narcissistic personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder, also called emotionally unstable personality disorder, EUPD, is where you have rapid mood changes. Now, this is often very mistaken for bipolar disorder, but the important thing to remember about these two disorders is that with bipolar disorder, you're switching between only happy and sad, or if you wish to be more technical, you can go from extreme highs such as mania or hypomania to extreme downs like depression. Whereas with borderline personality disorder, you constantly change from different emotions. First you could be happy, then sad, then depressed, then overjoyed, then angry, then bored, then chill, etc., etc. And these emotions happen in a very short span of time. Basically, they change very rapidly. For antisocial personality disorder, this is a disorder in which a person lacks empathy, the ability to understand and share the emotions of another, or the feelings of another. They also lack remorse, the ability to feel regret or guilt for a wrong done. As you can probably guess, psychopaths and sociopaths fall under this category. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but I should probably mention it here since it is very important. But personality disorders cannot appear in people under the age of 18. Hence, if a person exhibits antisocial personality disorder or traits when they're under 18, they're considered to have conduct disorder. And only if this behavior continues past the age of 18, then it is considered that the person has antisocial personality disorder. Now, we're going to go to narcissistic personality disorders. Persons with narcissistic personality disorders see themselves as superior and others as inferior. They also tend to lack empathy and remorse as well, and because of this, they tend to manipulate others and try to psychologically challenge others, basically trying to control and manipulate you into believing what they believe, that they are better than you, basically. For instance, if they are cheating, they will try and turn it around on you and make you feel as though you are in the wrong and you are the stupid one. These people also tend to exaggerate their own standings. For instance, they would try and say that they have a master's degree despite them only having a bachelor's degree. In fact, being around a person with narcissistic personality disorder will actually decrease your motivation and your self-esteem. However, it is important to note that people with narcissistic personality disorder develop this because they have an inferiority complex, an unrealistic feeling of general inadequacy. And because of this inferiority complex, they tend to overcompensate for what they feel that they lack. And by overcompensating, they end up developing this narcissistic personality disorder. Now, let's move on to histrionic personality disorder. With histrionic personality disorder, people tend to have low self-esteem. And with this low self-esteem, they tend to want to be validated by others around them, even if that person is just a stranger. So what they tend to do in most occasions, they tend to use their outer appearance in order to get what they want. Use it to get a job, use it to get somebody that likes them, etc. They do this because they believe that they are not good enough. So they believe that they need to only depend on their physical beauty. Basically, they feel bad about themselves and believe that they're not good enough to do anything else, and they have no choice but to depend only on their physical beauty. Now, let's move on to Cluster C. The three disorders in Cluster C are obsessive-compulsive disorder, dependent personality disorder, and avoidant personality disorder. Let's start off with obsessive-compulsive disorder. Now, obsessive-compulsive disorder is actually two disorders. This is because you can have obsessive personality disorder and you can also have compulsive personality disorder. Obsessive personality disorder is whereby you have an obsession or belief that is completely irrational or that you completely believe. Compulsive personality disorder is whereby you have a behavior that you need to continuously do because of some reason. Because these two personality disorders keep basically coming together, or each time that one of them appears, psychologists decide to combine them together and create obsessive compulsive disorder. As usually when you have an obsession, say for instance, and you have a fear of germs and you believe that you are easily going to get sick despite you not being that easy to get sick, you may have the compulsion to constantly clean things, to constantly want to keep the place clean so that you do not get sick despite you having the same amount of immunity as everybody else. And you might do things such as constantly cleaning the same spot over and over again, and despite it already starting to shine. Let's go to dependent personality disorder. Now, people with dependent personality disorder are what you'd call extremely clingy, as they depend on people for every need that they have. Basically, they have an excessive need to be taken care of. For instance, if a person is in a relationship, not only will the person be considered clingy, but the person will even refuse to leave the house unless they are going somewhere or with the other person. They might not even do anything unless the person is doing it with them. Now, let's move on to the last one, shall we? The last one is avoidant personality disorder. This is the personality disorder I was talking about earlier when we were discussing schizoid PD. And the difference between this and schizoid PD is that although both individuals suffering from schizoid PD or avoidant PD tend to lock themselves away from the world and avoid social interactions, people with avoidant personality disorder do not lock themselves away because they have an existing mental condition. They lock themselves away because of past experiences. For instance, a person may lock themselves away or avoid social interactions because they have been bullied or constantly insulted by the way they look or act, especially if they have no control over the behavior they have. So they may choose to lock themselves away and avoid social interactions unless absolutely necessary and mostly stick to themselves. And it's not like they don't want to interact with people. It's just that they feel this fear that if they start interacting with people, they will be given the same negative treatment that they were before, and they will not want to be around people for that. Basically, because they have been bullied or been mistreated so much, they basically become withdrawn from social situations. And with that, that brings us to the end of personality disorders. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. And remember, we sometimes do requests, so if you feel you wish to know anything, leave it in the comments and we might do a video on it. See you guys next time.